9 ain't enough and 11's too much. Welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Taylor, and today we're going to take a dig through the classic for the Game Boy, and maybe some AA batteries too, for a little bit of a nostalgia trip, as we take a look at some of the freakiest, creepiest Pokemon urban legends out there. These ghastly stories are going to haunt your dreams. Gengar. This is the top 10 terrifying Pokemon creepypastas that might be real. Let me know down below in the comment box if you love hearing about freaky deaky Pokemon stuff, or if there's other creepy games you want to hear about. Let's dive on in. Number 10. Ash's Coma. So, coming up first on this list of creepy Pokemon pasta is going to be Ash's Coma. In short, this pasta or theory is pretty simple. The accident at the beginning of the Pokemon TV show, when Ash gets shocked by Pikachu and breaks Misty's bike, this theory says that it was actually a critically damaging incident, and that the entire Pokemon TV show is actually Ash dreaming while he's in a coma, letting his mind heal while he fantasizes about traveling the globe with his friends, fulfilling his dream of becoming a Pokemon master with all the trials he goes through being products of his little damaged psyche, like he's doing a little Jacob's Ladder thing. Gosh, there's a reference the kids get. This one I felt had to be at number 10 because as scary or as interesting as it might be, saying somebody in a kids show was secretly dead the whole time is like, I don't know, that's bottom of the barrel fan theory stuff. We can do way better than that. In fact, I think we can do 9 creepypastas better, to be honest. So, number 9, Tarnished Gold. First of all, absolutely love the name of this one. Tarnished Gold sounds like a perfume from Elden Ring. It's a creepypasta about another hacked copy of Pokemon Gold and Silver. The narrator starts a new game, and instead of the usual intro with Professor Oak, is treated to a monologue of someone explaining that Pokemon are actually just tools to be used and not friends, which is like the opposite of what's true if you've ever seen a single episode of the Pokemon show. It's like, you know, nothing. When the game starts properly, you find that you're playing as the rival character Silver, not Gold. Bizarrely, you can't name the Pokemon, and when you try, a dialogue prompt pops up and tells you not to love them, which is just so unbelievably funny it's got no business being in a ghost story. Eventually, the plot gets pretty out there in this game. Mewtwo and Team Rocket end up causing the deaths of all your Pokemon, and eventually the main character even too. This one actually does sound kinda interesting, and I'm curious if anybody's ever tried to make like a playable version of it like some of the other games on this list. Number 8. Blue Tears. Our next creepypasta is Blue Tears. I gotta just say, all of these names sound like they could be fragrances. This story is about another hacked Pokemon copy that gets acquired at a mysterious garage sale. At some point, they gotta organize a big swap meet for cursed Pokemon games, because there's clearly a lot of them out there being circulated, and it must be so tough to find them at a garage sale. Anyway, it was a copy of Pokemon Blue that said Tears on it. When the game started, you're treated to a strange monologue from someone complaining of everything being taken from them. And then the game starts inside a cemetery with the rival character, either being named Blue or Gary, whatever you prefer, staring at a gravestone and proclaiming he'll get his revenge. Instead of Pokemon battles now, the only gameplay is trying to track down the previous protagonist, Red, and get revenge for losing all your Pokemon. Instead of Pokemon, you have a knife in your inventory, and as the person kept playing the game, they started bleeding from the nose, and look, I'm gonna be honest, this one's just a little bit silly to me. It's not written the best either. There's a bit in this story where they mentioned that they were really scared because they got into a trainer battle and they couldn't run away, and I was sitting at my chair kind of shaking my head like, you can't run away from trainer battles anyway. It's a trainer battle, not a wild Pokemon encounter, duh. Is that a pedantic reason to discount this story? Entirely, but I'm a very pedantic guy. Number 7, Yellow Death. Tarnished Gold, Blue Tears, Yellow Death. I can't with all of these. They sound very high end. Anyway, the narrator of this creepypasta is working at a game store when they get an unusual copy of Pokemon Yellow given to him, and someone asks him to fix it. And he says that the game is stuck. He's frozen and his Pokemon keep dying. The clerk is amused by this and says he'll take it home to give it a try to see what he can do. The game appears normal, except the cartridge has Pikachu's eyes scratched out, which is unnerving to say the least. The game seems normal at first, although it's glitchy. And then the cursed Lavender Town music is playing all throughout. The storyline progresses normally, but when you get to Lavender Town, when you're dueling that ghost, the player's Pikachu faints and is replaced with a gravestone, implying Pikachu died. Rest in peace, big homie. As the player keeps coming back to try and battle the ghost, he finds that his Pokemon keep dying until eventually he runs out of Pokemon and his own character had died too. Restarting the game now inside the player's bedroom, but now transparent and missing all items from the inventory. And the person who gave the clerk that original copy of the game never came back for it. And the clerk understood why. Number 6, Hypno Lullaby. This one's not as much of a creepypasta as the others, but it's almost like an in-universe creepypasta, if that makes sense. It's not a story about a haunted game affecting somebody who got it at a swap meet or something. It's a spooky little nursery rhyme about Hypno, who has always stood out to me as one of the creepier Pokemon as is. I mean, look at the guy. I don't like the look of his eyes. That whole evolution, really, there's something a little bit off about Drowsy too. Both of those two are up there with Mr. Mime for Pokemon I would never feel safe being in a room around. Anyway, this creepypasta makes Hypno out to be like the Pokemon version of Freddy Krueger. Take a listen. Come little children, come with me. Safe and happy you will be. Away from home now let us run. With Hypno you'll have lots of fun. Oh little children please don't cry. Hypno wouldn't hurt a fly. Be free to frolic. Be free to play. Come with me to my cave to stay. Oh little children, please don't squirm. Those ropes I know will hold you firm. Now look to me, the pendant calls. Back and forth your eyelids fall. Minds unraveling at the seam. Allow me to haunt their dreams. Do not wail and do not weep. It's time for you to go to sleep. Little children, you were not clever. Now you'll stay here forever. Oh, I'm worried I just casted like a spell reading that out. If any of you start noticing that you're cursed afterwards, I'm very sorry about that. Number 5, Pokemon Black. Coming up next is going to be the story of Pokemon Black. Now, if you're a Pokemon fan, you know they actually did end up making a Pokemon Black down the line on the 3DS, and this one was way before that. This is about a creepypasta about a hacked game. Anyway, Pokemon Black was a hack of the original 2 games, with the intention being to make a more spooky Pokemon, you know, if you thought that it wasn't scary enough. Instead of starting with one of the original 3 starters, I was always a Charmander guy, BT Dubs sliding that in there, you get the Ghost from Lavender Town as your starter Pokemon. Other Pokemon aren't able to attack it at all, and its only move is Curse, which was always a one-hit takedown. And if they fought a trainer, each defeated Pokemon would be shown as being removed from the roster instead of just fainting. And when the trainer was defeated altogether, the sprite would be replaced with a gravestone. The implication, pretty clear. After leaving a trail of shallow graves around Kanto, when you beat the Elite Four, you get a flash forward of Red as an old man, remembering all the Pokemon and trainers he stepped on to get to where he is. And then his ghost turns on him and the save file is deleted. Now the story's cool enough, the hack is pretty fun, but what makes Pokemon Black actually pretty cool is that it's been made into an unofficial fan game for those who want to experience that creepypasta firsthand, which is so cool. Not for me though, I'm not willing to take any risk with any curses, even from a fan Pokemon game. Number 4, Strangled Red. Coming up next is another scary hacked Pokemon game. I don't know about you, but I kind of find those ones to be my favorite of the creepypastas. I like thinking about some madman sitting alone in his room at night creating a haunted Pokemon game instead of a ghost coming into a cartridge. In Strangled Red, our protagonist finds a Pokemon Red cart in the trash, which is how you know this story is fake, by the way, because an original Pokemon Red cart is like $500. Anyway, the narrator finds the game, takes it home to play, and doesn't realize the game's been hacked. Instead of playing as Red, the usual silent Pokemon protagonist, they play as a character named Steven, who's been fleshed out and has a rival named Mike, and they've got a realistic relationship and everything. At one point in the game, the player trades their precious Charizard to Mike, and a loud snap was heard. And the next time the narrator tried to play the game, they found that their Charizard had died, and the game becomes about trying to revive the Charizard by any means possible. Honestly, it's a fun little story about the connection you have to your Pokemon, and the narrative trying to tie into the plot of the original Pokemon game is neat, but man, that is a lot of work for a ROM hack just to throw it away. Number 3, Snow on Mount Silver. Alright, this one's kinda halfway cool, to be honest, but like halfway. This one's about a sister and brother who grow up loving Pokemon games together, and as part of a shared hobby, they try to learn to mod games together. Eventually, something happens to the protagonist's brother, and he has a psychotic break and tries to destroy his copy of Pokemon and asks his sister to get rid of all of his Pokemon while he's in the hospital. And the first thing the protagonist notices is that in his game, all the Pokemon seem to look different, sad and sullen. The character is trapped on Mount Silver, the frozen mountain, and nothing the player can do seems to be able to get them out of this situation. And their Pokemon slowly would start to succumb to frostbite. Every time the player tries to escape or leave or anything, a text box pops up telling them that there is no escape. And eventually the Pokemon start dying, one by one. Red is still atop the mountain, just like in the original game, but when they try to have a Pokemon duel, all of their Pokemon just end up dying from the frost. After the duel, the game flashes a bright white screeching, and when turned back on, Pikachu's face was distorted, twisted, and waiting for the player. Number 2, Lost Silver. Another story about a mysterious, creepy, hacked copy of a Pokemon game acquired by someone unknowingly. Like a lot of these Pokemon creepypastas, you get home and you turn the game on and discover someone else has already made a save file with a party of unknown that spell out leave and a Cyndaquil named Hurry. It's not the best nickname, to be honest. The player's save file was just named ... which is pretty spooky. As the story goes on, the unknown will change to start spelling scary messages. And as the game keeps going forward, the player starts fading more and more, turning transparent, the sprite losing their arms and legs and replacing them with bloody stumps, bloody tears down the eyes, which is pretty darn creepy, to be honest. I saw a lot of fan art for this trying to write this thing, and yeah, you guys are drawing some creepy stuff out there. You keep going in the game, and eventually you reach a cemetery, and you realize the character you've been playing has been dead the entire time. A master trainer who was forgotten by the next generation after their unfortunate death. Like a couple other ones, some fans actually did end up making this ROM hack in real life. So if you're curious about playing this haunted Pokemon game, look it up online, or hey, look up any of the playthroughs available. I gotta ask, how come all of these stories are about the first 2 games? How come no ghosts are up there haunting a copy of Pokemon Emerald? Number 1, Lavender Town. You already knew it had to be this one. Coming in at the number 1 spot, it has to be Lavender Town Syndrome. Easily the scariest Pokemon creepypasta, and I'm gonna be for real with you, probably the scariest creepypasta actually out there. This one genuinely used to keep me awake at night. Admittedly, I was a child, but for real. If you haven't heard of this one, the quick story of Lavender Town Syndrome is that the theme composed for Lavender Town, that legendarily hair-raising piece of music, was even more sinister than it sounds, as it allegedly contained hidden binaural beats that would make the listener aggressive, homicidal, depressed, and all sorts of terrible mental states. In some versions of the legend, it's only present in Pokemon Red, connecting to a rumor that series director Satoshi Tajiri thought the color red was too violent, and this was the sort of way to get payback. Unlike a lot of creepypastas, this one doesn't have any ghosts or possessions or hacked copies, and is really down to earth and just believable enough to truly get under your skin and get terrifying. It also helps that Lavender Town by default is super creepy. The music is scary, and I think we can all agree as kids, we all were kind of freaked out by this, a little village where they all worship dead Pokemon, right? Now what's super fascinating about this is that the Western and Japanese versions of Pokemon Red and Blue actually do have ever so slightly different versions of the Lavender Town music, and that's the only different music between the 2 copies. So, why did they do that? Just a little bit of a regional flavor? Or is there something more to that music? And that's all for this video, my gamers. Thanks so much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you in the next one.